Our next question today also addresses a topic very close to all of the forum attendees' hearts, I'm sure. And it's in regards to taxation. Chris Coleman, if you'd be the first to address this question, please. A great deal of the property in St. Paul is non-taxable because it is occupied by government buildings, nonprofit organizations, schools, and the like. That leaves individual property owners and business owners with an undue burden. How do you plan to address the issue of property taxes in St. Paul and their impact on our business community and our individual residence owners?
Well, St. Paul is blessed in a lot of ways to have some great organizations and institutions. The beautiful cathedral on top of the hill doesn't pay taxes, but it certainly is a nice asset to the city. All these wonderful colleges and universities that are a critical part of the fabric of this town don't pay taxes, but they're an essential part of the well-being of the city of St. Paul. And yes, even government, the state capital. We are the state capital, and that's an okay thing. The fact of the matter is that also means that we have visitors that come from across the state of Minnesota to come and see, to participate in government, taking school children down for field trips. But the fact of the matter is, that question is correct. There's about 25% of the property in the city of St. Paul doesn't pay taxes. Now, it doesn't mean they don't pay anything. That's where some of the fees, the street and sewer maintenance fees and some of those other things do get paid. My predecessor, when he was first dealing with the cuts that the Paletti administration was making, one of the responses that he had was to raise those fees dramatically to try to capture some money from the non-tax-paying entities. Property taxes are not a particularly good way to raise money. They're regressive. They make it very difficult for people on fixed incomes. But the fact of the matter is we have lost over $155 million in local government aid since 2003. But our obligation to put police officers on the street, our obligation to fight fires, our obligation to run medic runs hasn't changed. And we need to figure out a way to be able to do those things.
Thank you. EvaNg, same question.
Well, we have to look at our property or assets in St. Paul. We have performing assets and non-performing assets. Well, performing assets means they produce a revenue, and non-performing means they don't produce a revenue. And some of them, worse than that, are not only non-performing, they are also cash drains. For instance, we purchased a piece of property from 3M for $1 million. We're very happy to have it because I think it's a very scenic piece of property, but it's now fenced in. It's sitting there, not doing anything. Meanwhile, we have to pay to maintain it, so therefore it becomes a cash drain. So we need to minimize the number of properties that are cash drains and turn them into performing assets whenever we can, and we cannot do something with that. We might consider what they call divesting, meaning to sell it to somebody who's a responsible owner and let them turn it into a revenue-producing asset.
I'd like to move on to another related topic regarding the park system in the city of St. Paul. EvaNg, if you'd be the first to address this question. There is a great value to the park system of the city of St. Paul, and there is a great cost to the park system of the city of St. Paul. Would you please address your perspective on the issue of the park system?
Well, that was exactly perfectly phrased. Yes, it's a great value to St. Paul because it's really part of the nice scenery, the landscape that we do have. It is a wonderful asset for St. Paul. But yes, it comes with a price. 580 full-time employees are part of that system. That is a huge complement of people that we do employ. And I'm looking at it. I see opportunity there where we can streamline some costs out of the general fund from this particular department. There is a lot of opportunity. I have not investigated fully into it, so I will come up with more answers further down the road.
Thank you. Chris Coleman, same question.
Well, one of the areas that's really been, quite frankly, I think hit hardest by some of the budget challenges that we have is our Parks and Rec department in the city of St. Paul. We had 43 rec centers in the city of St. Paul, 41 that the city was operating when I took office. In 2006, my park director came to me with a proposal that really just kind of, closed down, fewer hours in the building, fewer services available. And I asked him to put a plan together that was different than that. Didn't just kind of reduce and choke the life out of the system, but really made some fundamental changes in that system. He came back later with a proposal that ended up resulting in 8 rec centers closing in the city of St. Paul. That was a really tough decision. But we knew that if we closed 8 rec centers in the city, we could not only save a significant amount of money, but we could invest some of the money that we were saving back into the facilities that we continue to operate, so that it wasn't just somebody rolling a ball out and saying, go ahead kids, play. It was someone that was engaging with those kids after school, having them participate in educational opportunities, working with families, working with seniors. In our 2010 budget, we have a proposal to close another 8 rec centers. Those are hard decisions, but we know that we can streamline those services, but we know we can also continue to use some of the savings to reinvest in the facilities that we continue to operate. Our park systems are one of the real jewels. I grew up in that park system. No one is more passionate about that park system than I am, but we've had to make some tough choices, and we have done that.
Thank you. EvaNg?
I could rebut that a little bit. Like I said, the park system, there is a lot of opportunity where we save money in that area. I think one of the things we ought to do is, something that Mayor Coleman has already begun, was to partner up with some of the charitable resources that we have in town and let them run some of the centers and have more volunteers running some of the rec centers and help St. Paul save some money. Everybody says it's a wonderful system, but at the same time it is costly. And during times of economic downturn, we do have to make some tough choices, and I will be willing to make those tough choices when time comes.
Thank you. Chris Coleman, 1-minute rebuttal.
I think that's really one of the victories that we've had over these last 4 years, in spite of the challenges that we faced, is to be able to take some of those facilities and really reprogram them. Orchard Rec Center, for instance, that was really kind of just not many services were being provided there now, is thriving every night with kids that are participating in the Blackhawk soccer field. Dunning, which was just down the street from the new Jimmy Lee Rec Center, we were able to turn that over to an arts program that was providing out-of-school arts programming for children. Denoyer was being turned over to the community, so they started programming it. But in addition to that, not only did we turn those facilities over, but we were able to improve some of the outdoor space and maintain that. So the kids in the neighborhood were still able to play at those facilities. They were still able to take advantage of some of those things. Again, our park system is a real jewel, but we have made some really tough choices. And I think it's an example of where by working with the community, by bringing people together to come to a decision, instead of just pointing fingers at people and blaming them for problems, we actually were able to solve some of those challenges.
Thank you.